Welcome to the Mission Employable podcast, where we're talking about all the exciting workforce opportunities in Iowa. I'm Ben Oldak, joined, of course, by my co-host, Kathy Leggett. Kathy, how's it going? It's good?
It's going good, Ben.
Awesome.
Good to be here. Glad to be here.
Glad to be here. We got the State Fair coming up.
Yes.
Well, actually, by the time this podcast goes out, State Fair might be close to wrapping up.
All right.
But yeah, it should be a good time. Well, we have a great episode for you today because Paula Wright from MUSCO Lighting is here with us to shed a little light on work-based learning and how she herself saw the light when it comes to the gap between educators and business owners. Should be an illuminating discussion. I could go on forever.
Yes.
Welcome to the show, Paula.
Yes,
how's it going?
Very clever, Ben.
It's going great. Thanks, Ben and Kathy, for inviting me to be here today. I'm excited to talk to you about MUSCO as well as employment opportunities and how we can tie those to work-based learning with the school system. So
Perfect. Well, for those who don't know about MUSCO, tell us a little bit about what you do, because as a sports fan, I am incredibly proud of what this company is doing for one of my biggest passions.
MUSCO is an Iowa-based lighting company, obviously based right here in Iowa. Our headquarters are located in Oskaloosa. We have manufacturing in Oskaloosa as well as Muscatine and Des Moines. We manufacture lighting systems for mainly sports venues, size-wise, all the way from like a Little League field here in Des Moines all the way up to Olympic-sized venues. We light sports venues all over the world. But besides just sports venues, we also light other things, so like all the national monuments, the White House, the Capitol here in Des Moines, as well as airports, shipping yards, rail yards, things like that. So just lighting projects all over the world. Global company, we have over 1,700 employees, and just really proud to be a part of Team MUSCO.
That's so awesome. I feel like I want to say wow when you're talking about all those, because those are really amazing things, and the lighting is critical, and I don't even know so many people know about what that the impact you guys have across the nation and the world.
Yes,
so.
It is a good little secret. So again, our headquarters are located in Oskaloosa, which is where I work. We have about 500 employees in Oskaloosa, about 600 in Muscatine. Muscatine factory is where we are manufacturing more of our generalized lighting or basic lighting, the 5 easy pieces that we use on baseball fields, those kinds of things. So products that are fairly standard. In Oskaloosa, we're manufacturing specialty products, which would be all of your stadiums. So example, Wrigley Field. All the lights in Wrigley Field are not the same as at Busch Stadium down in St. Louis. So every stadium is a little bit different. And so those parts are specially manufactured for that facility. And so that's happening in Oskaloosa. And then here in Des Moines, we're doing all of the internal pieces. So all of the motherboards and the drivers inside of the lights that are, again, talking to our controllers in Oskaloosa on controlling the lights. So we also have manufacturing in China and Korea, but most of it is done here.
Awesome.
Again, 1,700 employees. They're located all over the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
A little over 1,000 here in Iowa, and the rest are who knows where. They're all
That's
over.
right. Well, I was I just wanted to provide a little background. Paula, you and I have been on a few meetings, and I heard you most recently on a meeting talking about work-based learning and where we're trying to go with the state, and it really was a great, I don't know if you call it presentation or whatnot, that you shared. And so I was really interested in having you on our podcast because I want people far and wide to hear what you're doing, what your background is, and all of that great information. So if you can tell us about your role at MUSCO and how does it relate to your background in education, which I don't think we've talked about yet.
We haven't gotten to that point yet. But so I am a talent outreach manager for MUSCO, which was a new position for them when they hired me. I recently retired as the superintendent of schools in Oskaloosa, and so had a good tie with MUSCO there in town, just working together, the community and the school district. And so after I announced my retirement, MUSCO had approached me about potentially working for them, and that they were seeing a need in helping to organize or manage their work-based learning or what was happening with students. So a talent outreach manager, what is that, right? So basically what I tell people is that I do all things kids. So anything that has to do with students, I manage or organize that for MUSCO. So that might be going to teachers' classes and talking about careers at MUSCO or electricity or lighting or those kinds of things, or career fairs at schools, all the way from kindergarten classes all the way up to PhD students. So I organize like all of the interns, all of the apprenticeship programs, the certificate programs, the work-based learning programs. So any kind of job, school to work kind of things. I organize tours for teachers if they want to bring their classes in to see what's happening, whether that's in Muscatine, Des Moines, or Oskaloosa. Just anything that has to do with a student, and I kind of oversee that or manage it. So I, again, recently retired as the superintendent from Oskaloosa, so it was a perfect fit for me. I got to keep working with kids, and I got to, help MUSCO out with what they were doing. So, so that's what my role is.
So what kind of programs have you guys kind of implemented over at MUSCO? I know you mentioned some apprenticeships, some internships, things like that.
A lot of them were already in place. They just needed a little bit of organization around them or some support because, as you can imagine, managers are a little bit hesitant to have high school kids in. They're just not sure how it's going to work and if they're going to be able to keep them busy, and they just don't know that they necessarily have time. So I think my role as I came in and started was to help managers realize that it could be done, right? They could have high school kids in to work. And so my job is to make it easy for them. So I do all the behind the scenes. So I'm the liaison between the school and MUSCO, between the manager and the kids. So if the managers have any trouble with the students, like if they don't show up or it's just not working out or they need to talk to them about something, I take care of that for them. I also relay all that information back to school so the managers don't have to worry about it. So my job is to try to make it easy for the manager, and I'm also the single point of contact for the school, which makes it easier for them too as they're placing students or wanting to place students. So I think I kind of veered off from your question, but I'm trying to think of any new programs we've started. We do have a new apprenticeship program we also own MCG, which is Mahaska Communications Group, which is an internet company that provides internet in all of Mahaska County as well as now Newton, Grinnell, and we're expanding to Ottumwa. So we have an apprenticeship in the fiber optics line there, and we've started that. So a lot of it was just really getting organized around it and increasing the amount of participation.
Yeah, I think I just have to say, I think MUSCO was really smart to reach out to you and try and connect these two pieces together, because you alluded to some of the challenges, both on the school side and on the employer side. And I just think it's a great model to have somebody with your background in there helping them do that. I always think if we want to gain in space, things that we want to get done, that we need to make it as easy as possible for those players. Right. And that's absolutely what you're doing. So,
and there are definitely barriers on both sides, but there are no barriers that are you can't overcome, right? It's just a matter of having the conversation and figuring out what's going to work for the employer and what's going to work for the school. And I just happen to be unique in that I understand both of those perspectives, so I can help solve the problems that come up as barriers between the two.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that's perfect because that kind of leads into our next question is what do you want to know? What do you want schools and employers to know about work-based learning? Some of the barriers that might pop up and some of the solutions that are, easy enough to find.
Right. They just need to do it. It's a win-win for both the school and the employer. As a superintendent, as an educator for 36 years, it was always about what's best for kids. And I know that employers are looking for employees, right, team members to join their team, and they want quality people, a quality workforce. Again, so it's just a win-win.
Well, I was going to ask, what are some of the opportunities? What's important about having these opportunities for high school age students? Why is it crucial to kind of get these kids in here early?
Well, for the employer side, it's a quality pipeline, and it's a proactive approach to hiring as versus a reactive approach. So when most employers are in the recruiting stage, they have their recruiters and they're out trying to convince kids to come into their business. I call them kids because they're all young, but they're future team members. They're out recruiting those individuals and trying to get them in the door for spots that are right now. My position is more of a proactive approach, which is what schools and employers need, is to get that pipeline built prior to you having a need. Now, there is some future planning there, thinking about where are our needs going to be as far as the employer side. But let's get those kids in the door. Let's get them understanding what possible jobs there are. Let's help them start to figure out what it is they want to do. And all the time you're doing that, you're building a pipeline for your own company to hire from. So,
absolutely. I think that one of the things I heard recently is that we really want to have an opportunity for these kids, young individuals, to experience work in their own community and learn what's available there while building their skills. So this does that for them.
right. And I think, and again, this kind of goes back to what educators know and don't know and what businesses know and don't know, but they don't know what they don't know. Mm-hmm. So if you are never in the business or you never experience what's available, I hate to admit that as a superintendent, I didn't know all the jobs that were available until I got into MUSCO and started realizing what jobs there are for kids to aspire to, as they grow and mature and graduate from high school. But there are so many roles that were not on my radar as a superintendent, and I feel kind of guilty that I didn't know that, right? But at the same time, the employer doesn't know about kids and about what schools, how they operate and what they need. So just taking down those barriers and getting out into the businesses to do that. And I think businesses should be a little bit more willing to partner together, like either on a position like mine. I could work for 2 or 3 different businesses doing the same thing and promote different businesses, right?
I love that idea. Yes.
You could share the position if you don't quite have the funds to fund a full position, right? You could partner with other businesses in your community and get students in. You might not hire all of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're going to go on. Some of them are going to go on to school, mm-hmm. but some of them are going to want employment right out of school. Or maybe they're going to, want to continue on with your company while they're going to school and provide value that way. Yep. Again, it's all about what's going to work for you as the employer and the student. But sure exposes them to a lot of different careers and things that they had no idea were possible.
Yeah, I think there's so many options. And then just talking about that different model, employers could share it. That would be a win-win all the way around too. And also I feel like now certainly teaching is a high demand occupation. We know we need to, and we're working on that. But it seems to me like in the communities, reaching out to some of the former teachers or administrators and maybe saying, hey, would you be interested in that? Gives them an opportunity to maybe to come back in a different realm, I guess, and or role, and really still influence students and help the community. So it's
right.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Opening up those lines of communication. Most schools, I believe, have a work-based learning coordinator or have somebody that's assigned to that task. They usually have other tasks, so it's not their primary. And so on the business side, it's like who on the business side has that task, either on their job description or has been assigned to that. And once you get those 2 roles identified and get them talking, there are so many possibilities.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up real quick with some of the jobs or careers that you maybe weren't aware of when you were a superintendent, and kind of how that kind of changed your perspective on what's available in some of these work-based learning programs.
Well, just all the robotics and things that we're using. I can't give up any secrets, but just all the robotics and things in manufacturing that we're using as we produce our product. And all the skills that it takes to use those mm-hmm. and operate them. Mm-hmm. So I'm not just talking about a line person that's putting together a product on the line, but just maintaining those and understanding that. And then there's just so many in the whole engineering and research and development field and the testing field that I just was not aware of, again, the skills that kids need these days. It goes beyond reading, writing, and arithmetic. Mm-hmm. And although those are very important.
Absolutely. But what you said earlier when you were talking about, you felt a little bit like, oh, I should have known this, but you were so not alone. And that's, even when I came to IWD 5.5 years ago, I worked in healthcare for 20 years. So very familiar with healthcare, not even a clue about all the other things that are out there and available. And so it's a chore to get that out. And but I just wanted to say, definitely, as you are encouraging other people to make those connections to learn what is there, because we all can benefit from that.
Right. Artificial intelligence.
Wow.
MUSCO's doing so much with AI that it just floored me. And I listened to the guys that are working on those projects, and it's just like, wow. Like, as a student in high school, sitting there thinking, I really like video gaming. I really like some of these things that were the virtual reality stuff. And there are jobs for kids like you that enjoy those kinds of things that are not just video games. There are other types of positions that use those skills. So
yeah, absolutely. And so, do you have like a success story of a student that went through this program and is now working there that you could talk to us about? Something kind of interesting.
Sure. Well, there's a lot.
Yeah.
So we monitor conversion rate, which is the number of students that we have working for us that are eligible for hire that we actually hire.
Yeah.
Right. So last year in 2022, we were running about a 60% conversion rate.
Wow.
We have not figured 2023 yet because we're not done. And again, we consider eligible for hire students that are either they're graduating from something, and they're looking for employment. They're not going on to school. So whether that's graduating high school and they just want to go to employment, whether that's a trade school, whether that's a 4-year degree, a PhD, wherever if they are graduating in 2023 and eligible for full-time employment, they get put in our conversion rate. And there are so many. Again, because we hire about 60% of the students that we work. So we had one student that was at risk for dropping out. We had some conversations with them. I met with them. We convinced them to come try some work for MCG, which is, again, our communications group. We found a position for him to do a school-to-work type of a program where he worked about 20 hours a week and went to school. And we hired him after graduation. He was wonderful. He loved it. It was hands-on. It was exactly what he needed. He finished school, he graduated, and he is now employed. He is actually looking at going on to a trade school now, getting some additional education so that now he can, improve his own skills. But there are so many of those that it's just hard to narrow down. That's the one
for
that
sure.
just
sticks out.
happened, not too long ago. But again, because he and I had the conversation about dropping out of school, and I was like, you can't drop out of school.
Yeah.
You can't drop out of school.
The fact that you have programs like this and over half of the students end up in your talent pipeline is, that sells itself,
incredible.
right?
Yeah.
Now that's your high school grads all the way to your college grads.
Yeah.
But it seems like a great return on investment for the efforts that MUSCO is putting forward to get them in and make opportunities available.
So this summer we had 43 interns, and that would be a mix of high school students. Our youngest was a sophomore in high school, and our oldest is a PhD student from Iowa State. So 43 in Oskaloosa and Des Moines this summer.
So cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I any kind of lasting advice that you want to give out to either any businesses that are considering starting a program like this, or maybe any schools, districts that maybe have kind of dipped their toes in the work-based learning water but haven't dove full in?
I would just say to just do it. I know I can't probably say that because Nike will get after me. But just do it, right? Just do it. Your program doesn't have to look like anybody else's. As far as the schools go, it's going to be a win for the students there, which is what we're all about at school. How can we do to help kids be successful? And it's going to be a win for your business. If you have a need for future talent, or you foresee a need for future talent, just do it, right? Just reach out to a school, reach out to me if you want some help into how to get started. But just start somewhere, right? Start with one student for a couple hours a week. And we can work through the barriers. There will be barriers, but you can work through those with the school and with the employer. And, it'll just be a win for both. And again, no two programs have to look exactly the same. You don't have to do it exactly like somebody else is doing it. So it's a win-win. I don't know why anybody wouldn't do it.
Yeah. And real quick, if people do want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to go about that?
Absolutely. So you can find my information on the MUSCO website, but it's paula.wright@musco.com. That'd probably be the fastest and easiest way. So yeah, just go ahead and shoot me an email, and then we can figure out a time to visit.
This is so great, Paula. Thank you so much. I just feel like this is a huge way forward, and like you said, in a win-win for everybody. And so I want to, again, on top of your encouragement, encourage everybody to get in the game with this. You don't know what it's going to look like. Yep, there'll be barriers, but we have to do it. We have to do it. So thanks so much for sharing all you have learned and all you know.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by.